The LA Lakers dodged a major bullet as it's revealed that a trade target that the Lakers have been linked to for months is dealing with a serious injury that's going to keep him out for the rest of the season. So we're going to discuss that, including a major trade update regarding Bruce Brown. So lots of stuff to dive into, but before we dive into that, folks, again, over 90% of our viewers are watching these vids have not subscribed to the channel just yet, so it would mean the world to us if you guys could hit that subscribe button so we can keep you up to date with all of the latest LA Lakers news. But let's dive into the first topic of discussion. The first thing we're taking a look at is the Lakers dodging a major bullet. And now there's been a lot of names. There's been a lot of people tied to the LA Lakers in terms of potential trade discussions, star packages, and one guy a lot of people have been calling for, specifically because the asking price for him has become so low in recent weeks, is Zach LaVine, who obviously is a Clutch client, so has those ties to the LA Lakers. Rich Paul obviously being the agent of LeBron James, so there's connections there. He's a bucket getter. He can improve the offense for LA. Again, not a lot of defensive sort of potential there for LaVine, but there were hopes maybe if he was traded to the LA Lakers that he'd be like, hey, I can lock in on defense here right now, playing alongside LeBron, AD. Things would step up a little bit, from the Chicago Bulls that obviously don't have the team's, the NBA's most intense defense by any means. But Zach LaVine was a guy that a lot of Lakers fans thought could definitely be traded to the LA Lakers, especially ahead of the trade deadline, given recent reports discussing how his value has just completely tanked. The Bulls would have to attach assets to Zach LaVine in order to give him up. So that's what all the smoke, all the talk was regarding Zach LaVine in recent weeks. But then yesterday, news came out that Bulls say Zach LaVine, in consultation with team and Clutch Sports Group, has elected to undergo season-ending surgery on his right foot. So firstly, this sucks for Zach LaVine, obviously a guy that, has dealt with some injuries over the course of his career. This season has been in and out of the lineup, has been out for longer stretches, and some have been speculating that, his injuries are tied to potential trade talks and how he's holding out or not trying to get seriously hurt for potential deals that are going on. Some are pointing to this decision to have surgery, happen in the decision with Clutch, obviously, Rich Paul's agents, agency Clutch Sports, basically saying, hey, there's a lot of rumors. Obviously, the Lakers rumors were there, but the Detroit Pistons going on, so you gotta have surgery so you don't end up on that complete train wreck over there in Detroit. Again, that's a lot of speculation stuff. He has been dealing with these proper injuries this season, but the first thing I want to say, I wish the best for Zach LaVine to sort of get healthy, but it would have been bad for the LA Lakers to tie up all that money, tie up their big potential trade for this year's trade deadline, because again, the Lakers always seem to have a little push at the second half of the season. There's a realistic possibility this team ends up in the middle of the Western Conference, and not just, it'll be a fluke. The trajectory after those wins against Boston Celtics and the New York Knicks, it's looking like things are turning around for the LA Lakers. So if they made a deal for Zach LaVine, and regardless of how bad his value was, you'd have to match money. So that would mean giving up a deal, giving up, we're not giving up Austin Reaves in a potential Zach LaVine trade, but giving up some solid sort of pieces on this LA Lakers roster to bring him in. And sure, maybe in the offseason it may be smart to go after him again. His value is going to be even lower at that point. But, Zach LaVine, fortunate for the LA Lakers, they didn't make this move. They dodged a bullet because it would have been a huge hit on this roster if he ended up having foot surgery and, he elected to it. But definitely if he came in regardless, he would have had an injury that he would be, nagging him for the rest of the season. So thankfully, the Lakers didn't do that, but now we have other trade rumors, other sort of discussions that are going on as LA definitely wants to bolster their depth, bolster their ability to produce on the wings at different positions of forward spots. But one guy that's been tied a bunch has been Bruce Brown, among others, in potential trade discussions. And Matt Moore basically gave a nice deep dive in all of the latest sort of Laker updates, in a recent article, basically breaking down what's going on. Multiple sources have indicated this week that the Lakers have had at least temporarily moved away from talks for Raptors guard Bruce Brown, who they had interest in at the trade deadline last year. There continues to be nothing but billowing smoke from the idea of an LA Lakers trade as Clutch client DeJounte Murray in Atlanta, but talks have reached an impasse lately as the Hawks are holding the line that they want Austin Reaves in any potential package. Reaves' recent level of play certainly lowers the likelihood of him being traded. So again, a Bruce Brown, a DeJounte Murray update here. So Again, this is how things sort of go. You get a bunch of talks, a bunch of negotiations weeks ahead of the trade deadline. So the Lakers, the Hawks, the Raptors, all these types of teams know what their sort of player values are at. Who's sort of talking about who. And, I'm also a Toronto Raptors fan. They're also my squad. So, I know the Toronto Raptors are looking for a first round pick and a solid player in any potential sort of LA Lakers trade or any trade regarding Bruce Brown whatsoever. So, how these negotiations work is weeks before teams gather information about, what's going on around the league, who they could get for some of their players that they're willing to deal ahead of the trade deadline. And then as desperation comes, as we inch closer and closer to the trade deadline, that's when moves actually start to happen. And obviously, it's Sunday right now. The trade deadline is happening this week. So we're going to see potential moves and all this sort of stuff heat up in the coming days. So, what's going on with LA? And the article goes on to say that Hall of Famer Mark Stein recently reported that D'Angelo Russell's strong play has moved him further away from being included in talks for the Lakers. This prompted the question from a personnel director not involved in talks. So what exactly are the Lakers going to do for DeJounte Murray, who the Hawks send all those picks for? So, if the Lakers do end up bringing in DeJounte Murray, D'Lo there. Obviously, there's been speculation about other point guards potentially coming in for LA. The interest in Marcus Smart, even though the Grizzlies don't really want to see that trade happen. Kyle Lowry potentially getting bought out. Bring in DeJounte Murray as well. You got to run him at the 2. Have that sort of Trae Young DeJounte Murray combo that hasn't really worked out for the Atlanta Hawks. I don't think that makes a lot of sense. But in terms of competition, Bruce Brown is also coveted by the New York Knicks, who view him as kind of a plan B or C because, again, the Knicks, similar to the LA Lakers, are always attached to blockbuster trade news. But once you get closer and closer to the trade deadline, then the Bruce Browns of the world become the more realistic trade possibilities. So with the Raptors notoriously high on offers, might make it tough to make a deal happen, as obviously Masai Ujiri and the Toronto Raptors always have high asking prices for their players, as most front offices should. So what's going on with LA? What's the latest with this breakdown, report? Should we expect trades to happen? I still think yes. Even though they're sort of, this is the kind of time for posturing. This is time to say, hey, I believe in our guys. I want to keep this going. But I think the DeJounte Murray deal, unless the Hawks get desperate, and they've had a couple wins lately, which might make them less eager to trade away DeJounte Murray in any particular package. But I think a move's going to go down. These teams get more and more desperate as you get closer to the trade deadline. Again, guys, teams like the Hawks, teams like the Toronto Raptors, they are not good right now. So they either need to make a decision to sort of tank their squad or build up their team to sort of make something happen. There's other reports saying the Hawks find confidence that another team would accept a D'Angelo Russell here now at this point, especially with the strong play as of late. So we'll see what ends up going down, but that's the latest in terms of updates, regarding potential trades. We can write Zach LaVine off the table. Bruce Brown right now, trades have kind of fizzled out a little bit, but there's still a high amount of interest from the LA Lakers side. And then DeJounte Murray, the Hawks are pretty adamant about wanting Austin Reaves in any potential trade package. So let me know what you guys think about all the latest LA Lakers news. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Anyways, I'm signing out. Cheers.